there, welcome back to Real Life on the Homestead in Ontario. And yes, Soup Saturdays are back. How convenient that right after the holidays, we usually have leftover ham and a ham bone. So we are making French Canadian pea soup. And I will show you what I do with the scraps after we've done all our meals. So we've had our leftover ham dinners, we have had ham sandwiches, we have had ham and eggs for breakfast, and that's enough. We don't need any more ham meals right now. But I've already made one batch using the ham bone, and today I'm going to show you how to do it with just the scraps of fat, the pieces that are odds and ends, and still make a good batch of French Canadian split pea soup. Remember, I always multiply my batches, but you will need 16 ounces of yellow split peas, 2 carrots, 1 onion. You're going to need some allspice berries, peppercorn, and bay leaves. These are the bay leaves we grow ourselves and dry. Now I'm taking some of our leftover ham. This one has a bit of fat on it, some odds and ends. We've already used the ham bone. So I'm just using these scraps to flavor the peas as they cook. Trimming off those ends that we don't need and going in the pot, and then using the other meat to chop up finely. We will add this in right at the end after the soup has been blended. See, when you have a bit of cartilage, just throw it in the pot. You want to get about 1.5 cups of meat, but I can tell you, I have never once measured how much meat I have. I just use what I have. If it's a little bit less, so be it. If it's a little bit more, okay, so it's a little heartier. No issue. Again, don't stress over soup making. It is not like baking. It doesn't have to be exact. Just do with what you have and make sure that you make a meal that you're going to enjoy. As you can see from the little bit of scraps that I have left over, we still have quite a bit of ham. And I wanted to make sure that everything gets used. We don't waste here. So we will just put this ham aside to add to the soup once it's made. Now for our vegetable ingredients, we're going to start off with an onion. Size basically is based on how you like the flavor of onion. We normally like larger onions because I do like the flavor of onions in food. So we're going to just rough chop it. There is no need to fine chop it because we are going to be blending this after the soup is cooked. So a good rough chop is all you need. As you know, I don't like to have you watch me chop vegetables, so we're just going to move along. Take 2 carrots, rough chop them, and into the pot they go. With our split peas, I like to rinse them several times, usually 3 to 4 times, to make sure I get that white film from processing off of them. And then I will add them to the pot along with 7 cups of water. Now, I always start with cold water when I'm cooking, and I never, ever add salt to my beans, peas, legumes when I'm cooking them. I always add the salt afterward. From my personal experiences, it seems that these, legumes, beans, peas, they never get super soft if you add the salt at the beginning. So here you go. I've got my vegetables, my water, my ham, adding the split peas, and this is going to cook. Well, first of all, we're going to bring it up to a boil. Once it's at its boil, then we will cook it for 1 hour, hour and a half, depending on when those peas get soft. I usually find just over an hour is enough. And we need to make ourselves a spice bag. Now, to make a spice bag, you usually take cheesecloth and your spices. I'm going to use a bay leaf, some allspice berries, quarter teaspoon is what the recipe calls for. I just throw a small handful, and some black peppercorns. They don't need to be crushed, whole peppercorns is fine. And then you tie your spice bag or sachet and throw that into your soup. Now, I found that I don't like doing this, so I do my own thing. I use a tea ball. I found that a tea ball works fantastic. I take my bay leaves, which are larger, and I always try to get nice, even-sized leaves and put them directly into the pot, making sure that I know how many I put in, so I know how many to take out. Then I take just a simple stainless steel tea ball tied with a kitchen twine string, and I add my berries to it. I find that this is a great way to mix it in. It never comes undone, easy to wash, and I always have it on hand where I don't always have cheesecloth. So I've been doing this for seasoning my soups for ages, and I find it works really well. So a little trick I thought I'd share with you. I throw that in the pot, usually tie the string around the handle or a spoon. Let's bring that up to a boil. Our pea soup seems to be cooked now. It's just been over an hour. It's actually an hour and 10 minutes. And I'm gonna just take a teaspoon and just check for tenderness of the split peas that I still see a bit whole. I have removed my spice bag, and I will find my 3 bay leaves, make sure that those are removed, and then I'm going to use my immersion blender to blend down this soup. Our spice bag is removed, and we have our 3 bay leaves. Now I have a Vitamix immersion blender as well as a KitchenAid one. And just from my personal experience and preference, with absolutely no sponsorship, the Vitamix does a much better job. And I got mine off Amazon, and I will give you the link to that. Now, just so that you're aware, I am blending with the meat in here. Of course, the spice bag and the bay leaves have been removed. There are chunks of meat in here, and I'm going to get through this and blend this beautifully smooth. I'm going to just increase the speed here now that I got through the first batch. But this soup will come out pretty much like the yellow canned one that you buy in the grocery store, which is what we always used to go ice fishing with. However, now that I make it at home and put it in zip bags and freeze it, make it our ice pack, then when we're out ice fishing, I could just take one of these out, throw it in the pot, warm it, add some water if it's too thick, and it's a nice warming soup while you're out there in the cold. And this looks beautiful. It's at this point that you now taste for salt. Of course, we haven't added any salt yet. And the reason I don't add salt is I find it does affect the tenderness of the peas as they cook. I don't know why, must be a chemical reaction, but I find that when I add the salt afterward, I always end up with a better soup. And when I'm adding my salt, I literally add, let's say, 2 teaspoons, teaspoon, depending on how much soup I have. Remember, it's all based on taste. And then I taste it, and then I see if I should add more. This is not something that I could give you a quantity of, because some people like their pea soup very bland, and some people like it with flavor. So I do it, like I said, I just add a little bit at a time until I'm where I'm wanting to be. I'm just going to show you how creamy that is. So that is perfect. Just gonna take that out. And to this, now, I'm going to add my chopped ham that we chopped earlier. That's it, the soup is done. As this cools, it will get thick. I leave it thick when I put it in the fridge or bag it up for ice fishing, because when I warm it, that's when I dilute it with a little bit more water if need be. But that's it, super simple. This is what it looks like when it has been refrigerated. It gets very thick, and that's exactly how we want it. Packs great into those zip bags to go ice fishing. And if you're going to warm this, just add a little bit of water until it's the consistency that you enjoy. As I stated in the video, I do have both the Vitamix as well as the KitchenAid immersion blenders. I will link both of them in the description box, but from my experience, I get much more power from the Vitamix. I started off with this one, and I still use it for roux and so forth, but it works, so there's no sense in throwing it out. But if you're going to have soups that you want to blend, it is much safer to use an immersion blender rather than a blender, so that you don't get that heat explosion. I'll also link the ingredients for the soup in the description box. I hope you make the effort to try this soup because it's delicious. I think I'm gonna have a bowl before I pack it up. But I hope you've enjoyed us getting back to our Soup Saturdays, and go out, make yourself a pot of soup, and live your best life.